Today, we will be interviewing Cortez, ladies and gentlemen.
That is exactly what's happening. It is a super big pleasure to have you here. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and with me today is Mr. Flaco Bayo, aka Dutch Vega, who will be making sure that everything is proper, and he brings all that insight and knowledge to the table as we make our efforts to bridge the gap. So, welcome, Mr. Cortez, to Bridging the Gap, where basically our mission is to take very smart and interesting people like you, talk a little bit about your life, and through your life, learn a little bit about your accomplishments and extract some knowledge nuggets for everyone to learn from. And it's truly a pleasure to have you here. I discovered who you were along the way of working with Dutch. So in my realms,
Mm-hmm.
it's very recent research to see what you're about. But I did watch this fascinating video on what you perceive to be a legend. And based on your own definitions of legend, it's fair to say you're a legend in this thing because people bring up your
Appreciate that.
name and it's proper and it's said. And then, yo, I actually watched this Dutch battle back in like 2010 and you were used in the battle against him. And I was like, yo, Cortez is that significant, that long ago,
He
that
is.
big of a
He is.
thing. And I was like, that's some seriousness right there. All right, so that's why it's such a pleasure to have
Oh,
you here. Sorry about that. I didn't even tell him I'm gonna say that. I just rolled with it.
yeah, you caught me with that one.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I got washed in that battle. He brought that up, and I'm like, bro, don't watch that. Like, rhetoric washed me that day. That was another conversation for another day.
That's funny.
But it's great to have you
Welcome,
here.
Cortez. Pleasure to see you, bro. Haven't seen you in a second, but pleasure to see you.
Man, you too, man. Everybody, man. You know what I mean? It's been a crazy, crazy last year. So it's like, to see familiar faces and seeing everybody still working, that's a dope thing.
That's
Facts,
amazing.
facts, facts.
And I believe you just battled recently, so you're still working, and that's a dope thing too.
Yeah, I just battled on Saturday. I battled Quest for Cody
That's
on,
amazing.
on URL. That was his debut on there, so it was pretty dope. Two veterans. I gave him the good look. He did his thing. It's a great battle. I mean, it's out on the app already, so working, always working.
That's amazing.
Always working.
So I do have I know we have a limited amount of time today, but I do have a little token first question to ask everybody, and I really want to hear your answer to, especially given how active to me longevity in the game is very fascinating. Anybody that can pull that off is a legend, and I say that sincerely. So that's why my first question, I'm really interested in it. So it's a bit of a story, and if you bear with me when it lands and everything, it's gonna make a lot of sense. So it all starts with my girlfriend washing dishes one time, and she's like listening to that Black Eyed Peas song that like I got a feeling, ooh, whatever, and that shit. She's vibing, she's dancing, and I'm like, yo. I remember how back in the day we were in the clubs real drunk dancing around to that music and it was the club ambiance and it was the vibe of the day. And now today it is the vibe of like, chores and exercise and all these other moments. And I thought it was interesting how like the vibes of music kind of change over time like that. And with that, I thought it was kind of funny how a lot of these club songs today are really just going to be the chore music of tomorrow. But then when I thought about that, it means like music is kind of weird in the way that it moves in time. But it made me realize too that a lot of us in music, when we think about our journeys, we start kind of late in the process, somewhere in the puberties when we get attached to it and we start running with it. But really, the
Yeah.
process starts like a lot earlier, like when we're real young. Like I can think back to how my soundtrack of my life had my dad playing this Led Zeppelins and the rocks in these tapes on these fucking speakers, and it just kind of created a vibe there. Or my mom had these shitty disco knockoff tapes that she would play. There was a lot of tapes in my house, and the radio and whatever that was on at the time. Or in the car, though, different vibes. It was always Krista Berg or some other soft rock shit or whatever. And it really made me realize that this was like the real foundation of all of my musical journey to come. So if we're gonna do your story any justice, I think that we need to start there with a little 5-year-old Cortez, whatever the age may be. Can you walk us a little bit through your musical landscape as a youth, the technologies, the sounds, what it was like before you had any control of it?
Well, growing up, my mother was like a salsa dance hall queen. So in the house, she's doing her hair, she's putting her makeup, she's getting ready for work, she's getting ready to take me to school early in the morning. Spanish music is playing, salsa, merengue, classic stuff. You understand? And you gotta understand also, I didn't know Spanish as a child, but I knew all the songs, I knew all the cadences, I understood the melodies. You know, And that was a big influence, especially when I went to Puerto Rico visit family, and I hear that cultural music, those melodies, those sounds, those topics are heavy into my musical influence. Now I get about 7, 8 years old. I meet my stepfather. He moves in with us, and he loved classic rock. He's Spanish, but he loved classic rock. He loved Elvis, the Beatles. We would listen to WBLS, and we would listen to the oldies. Every time we in the car. So, me and my little brother sit in the back of the car. If mommy's driving, we hearing all the Spanish stuff, La Mega. And if my step pops is driving, we listen to 50s and 60s and 70s music. So it was like, oh, okay. So I got a huge like ear for music before I even thought about rapping. Then when I get into my teens,
Yeah, before we
yeah,
get
like you
into
said,
before
the
we get into your
adolescent,
teens, where are you born? Where are you from?
Brooklyn,
That's amazing.
Brooklyn, New York.
That's how. So you basically come from there, and that's most of where you reside in your life. And I'm just
Yeah,
asking because I know we have to go
yeah.
a bit more rush, so it'll be a little less organic than normal. So bear
What
with me
part
on
of
that.
Brooklyn?
Cause yeah.
Bed-Stuy, Myrtle Ave.
Oh, that's
Okay, there
cool.
we go.
That's cool. Yo,
Yeah,
one
no,
other.
this is very important. Neighborhoods in like in New York City, like for general outside of New York City people, they want to hear what borough because
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's all that they really
yeah.
know. Know.
Yeah. So yeah,
But for us,
we want
even
to know what town.
certain neighborhoods, yeah, what neighborhood you're from,
And
because
my,
certain neighborhoods have a reputation. And his neighborhood, I know his neighborhood, and so I wanted him to say it because I know that there's gonna be a lot of people from Myrtle Ave that will
well,
appreciate.
it's
You know,
even beyond that. Like I was curious to go a little more too because like part of why we call this bridge the gap is because like there's this thing that happens when I talk to people from New York City where like y'all say stuff like nah I mean, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but oftentimes I do not know what you mean because I've never been there and I don't understand a lot of the context for this, right? So it's almost like our opportunity here is to expand on some of those things. Like I think Bed-Stuy is where Biggie's from, if I'm not mistaken, or it's that could be right or could be wrong. I don't know. It's a name that just makes me think of Biggie. So that
no,
makes
you're
you
right.
like kind
that's
of
the that's the thing about it. I grew up in that era. Marcy Projects is 5 blocks this way. Biggie's block is 7 blocks this way. Fort Greene is to the right of me, and then to south down is whole Williamsburg, Bushwick area. So it was like we was the hub, like I was the center, like I got to hear everything, all the Biggie stuff that was going on, all the Jay-Z, Rockefeller, like I was around as they were coming up as a kid.
You was
But
outside.
I
You
was
literally
out.
outside.
that's like so cool.
I remember playing in the park one time, and we playing ball, and Bleak is on the court with us, and no one knows who Bleak is. We just hooping, and then 2 3 years later, I see him rapping. I'm like, oh shit! I remember we played ball with that nigga one time in a like, you get what I'm saying? Things like that. I remember Mace coming to the hood for Biggie Day, and it's a park. And one of my little kids in the hood, my little man, he was nice. Him and his brother was like 5 and 6 years old, but they was nice and ball. And he's dribbling the ball, and Mace is playing with him, and he made Mace like his chain fall or some shit, and everyone in the park was like, "Oh, it's great!" Like I was around for things like that. And it's like
That's dope. Hold up
that is
though.
the
Yo,
essence.
that is
That's
So it
amazing.
dope
was
though.
like
Hold
I
up.
was
We
really
could break
there.
down a couple things in there real quick, Cortez. Like, uh, what you're saying, right, is that you saw Mace get crossed up, and the reason that that actually is a thing that would be relevant to why he's saying it is because Mace was a great basketball player. Like he was really good at playing basketball.
Mm,
He like he
And yeah,
him and Cam were like they felt like they could have went pro if they would have just stuck
yeah.
with it.
right.
And they were really good. So like to see a really good basketball player,
And
you
it's in
know,
the hood. Mace was the hottest thing going. You know what I mean? Big had passed. That was like the first or the second annual Biggie Day. Mace was the
Oh,
man.
hold up. What's a Biggie Day? I know this might seem weird to you, but I literally didn't know there was a Biggie Day.
Hold on, where you from?
I'm from Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
Oh, so y'all say A? A.
I do say A
Yeah,
quite a
from
bit.
some A.
It's
Yeah.
it's a real
Okay.
stereotype and it's valid. It's a valid one.
Yeah. That's
Valid.
no A is not mean.
It is,
Yeah.
and it really is. And then I catch myself doing it too sometimes. And I started saying nah, I mean, for real, since I started doing this conversation thing with people, I catch myself. But honestly, part of why we're doing this is because there's a lot of people like me that don't know a lot of things that are inherent to you, and it helps us all kind of appreciate the culture more and some things that are super significant. So it's like we call them knowledge nuggets. Just to learn
Mm-hmm.
there's a Biggie Day and what that means, and that happened after, and that's a way to celebrate people and things like went on. Like that's kind of really hard to Google stuff.
Yeah, none of this information is on Wikipedia. I mean, bro,
None of it. None of it.
none of it.
So yeah,
But
So yeah, tell
Biggie
them
Day
about Biggie Day.
Biggie Day was when Biggie passed away. There always was a tournament on. There used to be a barbecue on his block, St. James, and the park around the corner was on Lefferts. And what they would do is just have a like barbecue in the summer, and everybody would wear bad boy stuff or print up Biggie shirt. You know what I mean? Like a thing, like a remembrance on the block. And when they would have that, they would have tournament, like the basketball tournament. They would have like a special game. So
mm,
all the ball players would be there, all the rappers would be there. It's like a block party type of thing, you know.
I do.
Hey,
I've seen that shit before, but it's super cool to see that was like a thing that would happen. Like for you, again, it might be inherent, but for me, it's like I'm learning about this for the first time because you're telling me it's happening, kind of thing. So it's really
yeah,
fresh, and I appreciate that. Um,
no doubt.
nah. So when do you like decide to get into music? Is it during your teenage years that you decide, like, you hit adolescence and you start to become a little more fascinated by music, or like are you super young and into the idea of getting into music at that point?
Um, no, I don't. I really can't tell you exactly how like I went from listening to music to creating music, but what I do know is I would memorize
Mm.
all the songs that was the top 10 that was on Hot 97. I would have a tape. I'll be playing my video games and I'll be recording it on the tape. And then I would just memorize the songs. I would just know the songs. And then from there, I understood cadence. I understood rapping because I could, I could just recite the verse. But when doing that, when we cracking jokes on the block and stuff like that, I would take certain lyrics and switch it to my own. You know what I mean? Like to
Mm.
crack a joke or something. And everyone would catch on because they would know what song it's from. You know what I'm saying? But like little shit like that, that's what really like made me like toy with it a little bit. And then one Christmas, my cousin Cantone got a karaoke machine,
Mm.
and he lived downstairs from me. It was like karaoke machine. We could just record with little beats. We just kept playing with that shit. Next thing you know, bro, that shit just took. We all just started just fucking with it and rapping. And then
And
it was just different. Like we really started from a karaoke machine.
No, but that's really cool though, and that's one of the things I like about hearing this part of people's lives is because you hear these really ingenious ways of working around the obstacles that normally would face people to get like what ends up being really valuable experience. Working on a karaoke machine means you kind of have to get good to sound good, right? Like you don't get
Yeah.
like a Pro Tools fixing you up on the fly so you think you sound good,
Oh
sound good.
nah. We would be going into the sounding right. That was crazy. Like even thinking about it now, like that process, like we was like, yo, we really was doing that.
Mm.
that's the second time that or third time I think that this gets
Yeah,
mentioned on the show.
it gets mentioned.
This is a continual thing that you know what I mean. So it
Like a
shows that
karaoke machine.
Yeah, you're not the
well,
first.
not memorizing lyrics of the
No,
songs
but
that are
both.
on the radio
So,
and changing the lyrics of the
but
songs
also
and
the
that being
karaoke
kind of
machine. I've heard that before
oh
too.
word,
So maybe it
word.
wasn't. I don't remember who it was, but I know I've heard both of those things before. So to me, it's super interesting because the karaoke machine is genius. There's probably people right now that have karaoke gear at home that could literally start recording
Facts.
today when they hear somebody like you say, "Yo, I started like that." So that's why it's blessed as
Exactly.
fuck to me. But also, the memorizing other people's tracks thing is cool because yo, on many levels, it helps with your flows and da 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 da's. But
Yeah.
the fact that you effectively created parody music by accident based on a crowd reaction is super nifty as well. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's literally what the genre is called, parodies. And
Yeah.
you were just kind of making street parodies of your shits, and that's actually fucking cool. That's not the kind of stuff that I think everybody's just jumping into as an adolescent, you know. So like, or I'm assuming around then. So that's fucking fresh. Plus, you got all the culture going on around you. Is that like a big influence around you, seeing other people doing it? Like, are you involved in that world where I understand people are literally battling in the streets and stuff? So are you like witnessing this transpire?
Not that early on, but once I started getting a little bold and feeling a little confident with my lyrics, and people in the hood was receptive to little freestyles and stuff. Now those freestyles and stuff that we had, I knew those verses like the back of my head. So
Mm.
when someone would tell me they rap, or where I rap too, and I would just end up spitting those verses. And it got to a point where like those verses were always better than the other person's verses. And that was like kind of giving me a boost. And one time there's a club called Overtime on Myrtle and Steuben. It was a small club right next to the White Castle. And me and all of us, we in the hood and we just bum rushed it. We was like, yo, they got some little showcase in there. We bum rushing that shit. We was all underage. You know, it's a lounge, but they couldn't do nothing because we ran the hood. Dude that's on there, dude on stage, he's rapping. Niggas gas me. Yo, Cole, son. Yo, go take the mic from that nigga, son. Yo, he ain't. Son, come on, Cole, son, we got you. They hyped me up. I went up there, took the mic from dude, and just started rapping. Shook the building though. And then from there, the dude, some dude that was in there took me and was like, "Yo, man, like I think you talented. Who are you?" Boom, took my information, started bringing me up more to industry stuff and invite me to like this magazine release he was doing, and it was just things like that. Then I started realizing, like, yo, you know what? There's some opportunity here. Let me start taking it a little bit more serious,
Yeah, but
and then I started like booking studio time and going into the studios. And a lot of people will tell you, like, I was all over the circuit. I recorded everywhere, any studio I could get my hands on. That's where my money went.
mm. See, that was
Which
a
is smart, by the way.
yo, but that's
Smart.
super interesting. I do want to touch on that, but I do also want to commend you. That is fascinating. That the start of your story is I snatched the mic quite literally from somebody else, stole the show, and shut the house down. You know how I
Yeah.
know? Because you got invited to shit after. There's no way that you didn't do some, because that's bold. That's not something people can just do, you know? Yo, if I tried to go snatch some mic, I might get boxed in the face, is the truth of the situation, even if I was nice with it. That's some
Yeah.
shit that you pulled off that is fucking cool. Even,
Sometimes you got to take those risks.
because it doesn't sound like it was like mean. It just sounds like you did some hip hop shit.
Nah, we was just cocky. We was confident, and we was just on our bully. It was our block. Like, oh, they got a showcase, nigga. We rap. You know what I'm saying? That was the vibe.
But it worked, which is
Very
frank.
New York of
But it's
you.
also just interesting that regardless to what people may think of the move, it worked. And that's the really
Yeah.
important lesson is that things that work for reasons, and maybe there's something to that that's extractable that we can apply to our own lives to be bolder in a situation. Like if I understand what makes 50 Cent brilliant is his fearlessness, and that sounds like a fearless move to me.
Yep.
Um, let's say like so with the studios you go all over. Is that a strategic move or is that like just what it, because it sounds strategic if you think of it in hindsight.
Was I was really a fiend. I would say that, like, I was a fiend where it was like I wanted to be in the studio a lot, and I wanted to learn beats, and I wanted to rap, and I wanted to really be involved. So it was like there was certain studios. I used to go up to Reed Avenue in the Bronx on the 2 train, and I used to have a 7-8 in the morning session. That's almost the second to last stop on the 2 train, local,
Yeah.
and go from New Brooklyn to there. That takes about an hour and a half. I
He's
would be
essentially
up at
saying what Dama said, which was like he's going from really far in Brooklyn all the way to like the most furthest point in the Bronx. and that's really really far. So like, you know.
Yeah, like
Right.
I would take my book out on the train and be writing my verses while I'm on the train going to the studio. I would get on the bus and have my book on the bus
Yeah, but
and be writing on the bus to work, to school, whatever it was. Like I was just like niggas knew I rapped. You know what I mean? Like I was on it like that. Even when I go to the hood and I'm chilling on the block and we all drinking or we chilling or we had a dice game, I always had a little pad in my back pocket. Always wrote little bars down.
mm,
You know, like I was really on that time like that. So like if I had a studio situation or all the way up there, I boom, I'ma go. I would go. I used to record on 116 from my guy French. He was one of the first people that gave me like original beats. I would go there. I would go to Queens. I would go to all the studios in Brooklyn. I went to. You know, I went to Manhattan a couple times. I went to a Wu Tang session with like all them Wu Syndicate dudes, and I was just a kid, like 16, and then nobody knew who I was. I was just with my man, just smoking in there and just being around. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was just soaking up game, and I felt like, you know, then I would learn those things and I would bring it back to the hood, and I would tell my whole clique. I'd be like, yo, look, I met this studio guy. Da da. We could go record here, or we could go record here, and it helped us because we really I always knew our personalities and our characters stood out, right? Pardon me, that was a phone call. I always knew our characters and our personalities stood out. So I knew that once we got into buildings or got into spaces, people were gonna remember us.
right.
And then from there, like that helped us our confidence because we just knew like, yo, we kind of stand out. You
So,
know what I mean?
so I like that you keep saying we. That's fascinating. There's some people that like to say I a lot, and you're saying we a lot already at this point. Who's the we?
Mm-hmm.
If you can expand on that.
The we is like the whole murder Ave. That's Misfit. That's Rilla. That's Rum. That's Reed. That's Cantone. That's A Junior. That's my man Success. Everybody. The whole team. That's Size. That's I don't think I forgot anybody. So, like that was the whole team, and we just was wild and we had like Vega know, like you get what I'm saying, like Dutch know, like we pulled up, but it was love, you know what I mean? But we put pressure, but also
Mhm.
niggas had to fuck with us because we was actually dope. It wasn't like niggas was trash. So it
Facts.
was
Mm,
like, damn, they putting pressure, but niggas is type fire, they get shit lit. You know what I mean? So we just realized those things early on, like what our advantages were. And being Latino also, like we were like, okay, cool, we're gonna be slighted. So we're gonna have to turn up extra, extra.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. Which is really important because that's something that Holden had mentioned, right? Was like he had seen um, that little clip that came out on 15 Minutes of Fame, I believe it is. Shouts to 15 Minutes of Fame, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And you were talking about legend status in battle rap and whatnot. And you were talking about how there's a certain era in battle rap where like the guys from back in the days, what they did kind of like was no longer what was relevant to what we were doing. You know what I mean? And you mentioned how you were you are a legend, and you mentioned how you're representing for Latinos. And when I saw that, I was like, yo, you know what? I want to big Cortez up for that because he's right. Like out of everybody that came out of battle rap before you that was relevant, the only one that still mattered by the time you came around, right, is PH. So for your name to be up there with PH in like in a certain like category that there's no other people who else really is in that category, you know? Now they might have came along a couple names, you know, but like it's still not that level, you know? It's still not PH, Cortez, like what you guys did representing for Latinos, like
Mm-hmm.
that's like you and me are
Huge.
you and me are contemporaries, you know what I mean? So like when I saw you battling, I looked at you as like my competition immediately. Like I
Hmm.
was just like, I remember seeing you in SoulCon. Sarah had showed me you in SoulCon battle,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, high key offended. Like I was like, yo, what is this grind time thing? What do you mean? We're out here putting in work. I'm battling everybody that you put in
Hmm.
front of me. You know what I mean? But that's because that's the nature of the way it's supposed to be, right? But
Yeah.
like, fast forward to now and looking back from then till now, that's only you there. You know what I mean? Like those other names of Latinos, we really did not do what you did. That's another thing and
Thank you.
another rung on the level, another bar that other people can't say if they hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, wow, props to you for that. You know?
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I didn't look at it. I never looked at it as competition. I just looked at it as me. I didn't even realize I was representing such a demographic. I was just hungry and I was just trying to put me and my team on. I just wanted the block to respect me. You know, as time went on, I realized like, yo, I got a lot of responsibility, you know?
Yeah,
And at the same time, it was crazy because everything was going from DVDs to
yeah.
World Star, Grind
It was
Time,
going from DVDs to
Lions Den,
online.
URL. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like the transition was just like you know what I mean, like just a turn of a page, new era, you know. And I'm still blessed to be one of those guys that was there at that time. I'm super blessed for that,
Super
you
blessed.
know.
Yeah,
But I'm
absolutely.
you know, I could have dropped the ball too because I
Yeah,
didn't really realize, you know what I mean? And I look at it now, and I even sit there now and say I still could have done more. You know, if I really would have known what I know now, you know what I mean? But that's how the that's how it turns out. But
yeah,
you know, I appreciate that because you know every time I step on that stage now, I feel like I represent us.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely, and it's a position that not a lot of us get to inhabit. You know what I mean? Like it's firsthand. Like it's not really like the a big railroad that's constantly coming in of like Latin rappers that are being popular in mainstream. So like it's a position that it's like yo, that's like coveted. There's other dudes out there that are like, yo, you know? So yeah, nah. And it wasn't just you, like it was you guys, period, right? Like I was looking at it like, what's this? Like I had did Fight Club. You know what I mean? So like it was like I was looking at it like, what? It was Sarah putting me on to grind
Yeah,
time. But like it was also like once I was there, it's like, oh shit, like there's all of us, like who's gonna be the guy that stands out? And it was you. Like it wasn't nobody else. Like it was you. So like take pride in that, like that's
thank you.
something that like it's something to be proud of, because it says something.
Mm-hmm. Nah, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, if it just adds to it, from my side of life, the second I created a Facebook event that says interview with Cortez, my cousin hits me up for the first time and goes, yo, Cortez is dope. I've seen all his battles on KOTD. First thing I get heard from. I know I just start getting hit up like that. Now, I can't say everybody, but I can say that you've gotten more love from battle rappers in that community that I've known in terms like somebody felt compelled to share it with people and things just because it's Cortez, and I got like cred off that. I didn't even know what was happening there. So
That's
you're in a
good.
tier that like is not. You deserve whatever Flacco's saying. I don't know the full context of it all, but I believe it's sincere given the reputation you have. I know I watched several of your battles, and I noticed your tactics are different. There's like something a little bit more strategic about the way you go at people. I think that holds up over time, that didn't become dated in the way that many strategies feel dated looking back on today, making your performances in these battles really enjoyable to this very day. Because I didn't watch this all back in the day, so I only have my 2021 hindsight to look with.
Yeah,
And yo, what you said about in that Holla something guy battle,
Holland.
I thought a lot about what you said in that battle, because that's my country. So I had to really think about what you said in that battle. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, yo, that was really profound and wise shit. And it really stuck with me and impacted me. And I was like, nah, Cortez is really using his platform to communicate certain ideas while also being blessed with it, which is not lost on me. given that I've seen you do it in multiple battles with the approach you take in the opponents, and I really appreciated that myself in how you do it.
I thank you
I mean, that's just
because I feel like you always need a beginning, a body, and an ending. And I feel like a lot of the guys in battle rap, when their material is just random, it's cool. It's nothing memorable. You're not gonna be talking about, oh, how I let the blicky spark 5 years from now. But that Holland battle was 10 years ago. People still talk about this. People have been to rehab that's hit me up about that battle. Certain things like that. And that is like a huge goal. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy. You know? Um, those things will always last longer than 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 a punchline. Reality. And I feel like that's my advantage in battle rap. Like I can really break down reality.
yeah, that's cool. That's what I thought you were trying to do with it. I actually said that earlier today in a DM to Dutch. If so, I was like,
Yeah,
nah,
yeah.
that's what's special
Facts.
about how you went at it, which I think is why your shit resonates. Because again, I don't know you that well, but I was just cherry picking battles from different years so you can see what's consistent, right? And A,
Mm-hmm.
extremely talented, and B, nah, I like the approach you take. But we got a question from the comments, if you're all right with that, from Ismail, who asked, what was your most memorable battle?
My most memorable battle, it has to be Holland, but also it's up there with Head Ice and Hitman Holla.
Mm.
Yeah.
Head Ice Part 1 and
I
Hitman
was
Holla.
yeah, I was gonna say the head ice one probably.
Head Ice
Like
Part 1, if you was in New York at the time too, like that was so meaningful. Like that was the hottest thing going on in New York City.
Uh,
Like I was headlining the hottest thing in New York City. And I was the complete underdog. And I went to Harlem battling Head Ice, who was the hottest guy in battle rap in the game. He was already goaded, and I smoked him, you know? And then Hitman Holla was just like the reassurance where people was like, whoa, like Core is here. You understand? And that was URL's. That was one of URL's first classics. So like that was great. That was major.
that's really, honestly, it's really cool to hear you describe it. Um, so like, you also make music. When I mean, sorry, I know that's a weird way to put it, but I was listening to there's two projects on Spotify, and I've now heard them both. At least I didn't go that much deeper, so I'm sure there's more out there. But I heard some of the snippets used in your battles, and I fucking love how in the pocket you are. I want to just give you the compliments on your musical prowess as well, because you a fucking ill songwriter. I don't know
Thank
if
you.
people
Thank
talk
you.
about your music as much, but were you doing music the whole time? Can you tell us a bit about that side of your life?
Yeah. Resolutions is out now. I just dropped that in on the 1st of January, and that right now is really buzzing. Like people really, really have gravitated to that album, and I truthfully feel like it's my best body of work. It's at a mature insight that I've toyed with other songs that I've put out, but this one is complete. And
Mm,
the response from it lets me know that it's complete. Now, as far as music, like I said, I was always in the studio, so
right.
battle rapping happened randomly. The goal was always to get a record deal or have some distribution or put out projects. That was always the goal. So even though the battle rap took off and it became very beneficial financially too, I never stopped making music. I would always sprinkle certain things out. Then I dropped 16s and Better Part 2 2 years ago. I had the first single with Meth. Everyone jumped to that. And now this one, Resolutions, is just like the same thing. So I love music. To be honest with you, I love music more than battle rapping. And I'm
see?
trying to bridge the gap. If you guys understand, I always use that phrase and the hashtag. I'm always putting bridging the gap because of that. I want to be the example. When people say battle rappers can't make music, oh no, but Cortez makes good music.
Mm.
Not you, Cole. The rest of them, like, and I'm trying to bridge that gap to let people know, like, yo, man, there's people out here that could do both.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I was
wonderful.
telling I was explaining to Holden that like you come from a older school of battling where we actually used to battle to get record deals. So
Yeah,
like the battling was really just a avenue for us to get where we wanted to be ultimately, which was making music.
there
Wow,
are dudes now.
nowadays, yeah, there are battle rappers now.
There's dudes now that don't make music. They've never been in the studio, but they
Yeah,
battle rap. They're like, no, no, I never. I'm just a battle rapper. Like, you're not a regular rapper. Nah, I'm just a battle rapper.
Mm.
yeah,
I never
yeah,
been in the studio. I never rapped on the beat. I'm like,
yeah.
what?
They don't know how to they don't know how to they don't know how to
Yeah.
rap on beat. They don't know how to like record themselves in any way.
Hold,
They don't even
Holden,
understand the concept of recording
hold,
themselves.
Holden. I already broke it down to you the stages. We went from the karaoke to rapping in high school to rapping in little ciphers in the block to getting to the studios. After that, the next step was I started doing EO dub and doing the pyramid training camp showcases. I
Mm.
would go to
Uh-huh,
those open mics every Tuesday and every Sunday.
uh-huh.
The first time I went to EO dub, I got kicked out.
What? That's a first.
You know how they have the five things where they battle but they can't diss each other? What's it called? What's it called? That you know what I mean,
The
right? Where they be like
MC challenge.
the MC challenge. So that's usually for the new guys. I was a kid. I was like 15. I got in there. My man is performing and shit, but he's like, "Yo, Cole, you could get up there for that." I entered the MC challenge, started freestyling, made it to the end, and I started dissing the dude because I didn't really pay attention to the rules. I smoked them, but then it was like, "Yo, that was dope," but no, you're not supposed to be
It's
dissing the
not the
person.
concept.
Get him
They're
out of
like,
here.
yo, great job at destroying somebody. That's not the concept we're working with here,
Exactly.
sir.
And everyone was like, and I was tight. I was fit. I know how to act. What? Fuck this. But I realized that everyone, afterwards, when I'm outside, everyone's like, yo, shorty, you dope. But you got to pay attention to what's going on. Don't be so aggressive. You know what I mean? And I came back the next week and I started performing. Just working on one song, coming back every week doing that one song, learning how to perfect it, learning how to hold the mic. I really went through the due diligence and learning every step away of how to become an artist. So that's
Mm.
why I feel like music is the least. It's the least of my worries. It's more or less the business or something like that. Like music, I love. Battle rapping is great too, but I have to like shut everything down when I battle rap, and I sometimes I don't want to do that. But music is just natural to me.
I like the way you put that, and I like the fact that you brought up the end of the week training camp the way that you did it, but also that you brought up perfecting a song. I don't know that a lot of people did that. I personally didn't go perfect songs like that when I started, and it was probably a really shitty idea because I put out some maybe not great stuff. So like, I think it's fascinating. And would you recommend people test out material like that to go find open mics and play shit that's not
All the
released?
time. Comics do it. Dave
Yeah.
Chappelle goes to like Gotham randomly and
Randomly.
try out jokes and test out jokes.
We while we're here and super shouts out to end of the week. That was like good
Mm,
looks, right? Because we're on their platform. So like,
it's true.
always shouts out to end of the week.
Big fan.
Vanguard, one of the team members, like he constantly goes to like comedy clubs. And I remember him telling me about a night that he was at. I don't know which one, probably Gotham might be another one, but he said that he was there and that it was the night that Dave, Kevin Hart, Chris Rock all randomly got on stage. I think Marlon Wayans and Dave,
Yeah, it was a
Bill
couple of
Rutherford.
them. Yeah,
Yeah, like I forget who else, but like to be able to be there for something so monumental that then the world is talking about. You know what I mean? Like that's the beauty of New York. You know?
That's is pretty beautiful. We even got a cool in the comments from that. Nah, that's fresh, man. I like that. I like that you shared that because sometimes I think we think things like you gotta hide everything and etc. But then I started talking to young people and they're like, nah, man, I just share shit the whole way through the process and people fucks with it and buy it after. And I'm like, oh,
hmm
that's actually kind of interesting. Maybe it's a better marketing, but in a sense, doing the open mic thing where you perfect your song like that, all those people are gonna be invested in that song when that song comes out. That's actually a fucking brilliant marketing, and so I appreciate you sharing
exactly,
that knowledge nugget with us.
exactly. Like that's what it was. It would be like, yo, you know what? we could go and make this song better, or yo, we gotta mix this down. Like I went through everything, bro.
That's fresh. So what happens after the EOW training camp?
Uh, I'm in front of training camp, and that's when I got into a cipher called "What's Really Hood" DVD. Rest in peace, Fred the God. Math was there. Was a lot of like MCs on the come up at the time, and I jumped in the cipher. I ended up being on the intro of the DVD. But there's a dude that pulled me to the side that night and was like, "Yo, I like your flow." He was like, "Yo, you ever did Fight Club?" And I'm like, "Nah, I never did Fight Club." He's like, "Yo, we filming season 2," and he sent me an invite, and that's when I went to battle, like officially. I had battled in my hood here and there, but when I went to Fight Club and I knew it was on MTV2, I was like, okay, cool. Boom, I jumped on it. I battled like 5, 6 dudes that day, smoked
Yes,
them.
that's
I ended
usually
up
how it
battling.
goes.
Yeah, I battled Jag. That's down with Cassidy, Larceny, and them. I battled Jag. Hollow was there. Lotta Zay was there. Lotta Zay's brother Lance. I ended up battling. Jay Focus was there. There's a couple of people. So from there, I
Yeah, I
would see
battled
them
J
for a couple
Focus too.
weeks. Yeah, yeah, we battled. We go for a couple weeks, and
That's
then
the circuit back then. We all used to like if you were really hungry and you really wanted it and you were around and you was
yeah.
outside like that, you were bumping into the same people and we were all essentially on the same grind.
Now
And
Jay Focus is the most important thing here because I knew Jay, right?
mhm,
Familiar with him. Cool. The season never comes out on MTV2. Everything just falls to shit. All right, cool.
mhm,
A year passes, and my homegirl AD the General, rest in peace, AD the General. She used to do showcases too, and she was Latin, and she calls me and she's like, "Yo, Cole, you said you did all that battle Fight Club shit and all that, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, I signed you up for a Vlad battle at 5 Beats. It's a DJ Vlad Butcher battle, and it's at not 5 beat Fat Beats. And I'm like, when? And she's like, tomorrow. So I'm like, yo, how you do that? How you just sign me up for some battle shit? She's like, yo, call out of work, do whatever you gotta do, man. I believe in you. You need to be there. Click. So I'm like, fuck, man, how the fuck I'm gonna do this? Like, I gotta memorize these verses. It's like a lot of verses. I go to work. I was gonna dub it, and then in the middle of the job, I was just like, yo, fuck it, I'm out. Boom, I left. I went. I battled 10 dudes there. It's DJ Vlad. He's doing a butcher battle. So I'm battling for his shit. And then I ended up battling Jay Focus that day. And I smoked Jay Focus. Smoke him. I make it to the finals and I battle Cyanide. And Cyanide, I beat him the first round and I run out of written rhymes and I don't know how to freestyle. Cyanide freestyles the second round. Cyanide freestyles the third round. But the judges knew that I was better, so they said we got to see one more. And in my head, I'm like, fuck, I don't got no more verses. Like I'm trying to freestyle, I choke. He freestyles, he gets through it. He technically wins the tournament, but it was clear that I was the better rapper. So I'm I'm mad about it. Whatever, cool, boom. A year passes by from that, and Jay Focus becomes the 106 in Park champion.
mhm.
So everybody's Googling Jay Focus. When you Google him, somebody recorded on a little flip phone me versus Jay Focus that day. None of the other battles got filmed. It was like 20 battles that happened that day. The only battle that got filmed was me versus Jay Focus on a camera phone. Wild, blurry, mad, staticky, all that. But it's online. I didn't know it was online. I didn't know what YouTube was. This is like 2007, 2008. So
Yeah.
no, 2007. So everyone, my MySpace starts getting lit. People start hitting my MySpace. I'm like, yo, why is everybody? Yo, I saw your battle. Yo, I saw your battle. Yo, I saw your battle. Yo, you're pretty dope. I'm like, what is this? And then I realized, oh shit, the J Focus shit is out. All right, but why is it getting so many views? Then I watch 106 in Park that Friday, and I see who the champion is. And I'm like, oh, I smoked this nigga already. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, okay. And what happened is Direct went to New York City to meet Jay Focus, and Direct asked him about grind time and wanted to bring him in, and then said, by any chance, do you have that kid Cortez number also? Because he's dope. And Jay Focus says, yeah, here, and gives him my number. My number never changed. It's the same number I got now, Dutch.
Yeah.
He gave him that number. Direct calling me. I keep seeing this number from Orlando. I'm dubbing the phone. What's this? I don't pick up calls I know. After a while, I pick it up after a couple of days. I'm like, yo, this person keep calling me. And it's Direct. And he says, yo, I got this thing. It's called Grind Time. I want you to battle Complex. It's going to be on World Star Hip Hop. Blah, blah, blah. This is a great opportunity for you. I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. I was like, all right, man, I'll go. Went there with verses I already had. And when it hit World Star, everything took off. Within a year, I end up battling Ice. URL starts, and everything just went crazy.
That's a lot. Uh, I feel like that was a really concise way to pack in a lot of the things that leads to the stuff that's probably really easy to find on YouTube, given the time frame I understand we have.
Oh yeah, that battle's still out and all that. Yeah.
No, but that's like cool. It's cool the way that your whole life does have all these sequences that you almost have mapped out, ready to go, that you can break down like that, which I also appreciate because it makes it like interesting to think about the different phases and how they evolve and blend into each other at each significant moment. So I just thank you for sharing all that with us. And that also is so cool that you beat the guy. It randomly gets filmed. Randomly is what I understand.
Randomly.
And this basically is a huge moment for you on some unrelated shit just by accident. And that's fucking the way the world kind of actually works. And I look at luck like preparedness versus opportunity. And that just shows what preparedness versus like it's just kind of what happened. An opportunity struck. That guy did well. It caused people to Google you, but because you had already been prepared in that previous moment, boom, it takes off the way it's supposed to.
I also look at it like I was so mad about the cyanide thing, but it didn't even matter because what really counted was that footage right there. No one cared about that tournament. None of that.
It's
They
true.
just saw the talent in that one battle.
And all things considered, I'm talking to you today, and we're calling you a legend, and it's facts. So, I mean,
Appreciate that.
that's really what it
Yeah.
is. Um,
And so after that, you started battling in grind time.
yeah.
Yeah, that battle Complex, Jazzy Tech, KM, Soulcon, Real Deal, Conceited. Oh,
Yeah.
Mosh Gelton too.
I think that the SoulCon one might have been like the one that like helped propel both of you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, Mosh was the first one because Mosh and Johnny Storm had that viral battle. Then he came to New York and I smoked him, and everyone was like, "Whoa, wait a minute." And then after that is when I really, and then I smoked. Like I didn't smoke SoCon. That was a great battle. That was a great battle. It could have went either way, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I was more prepared because I had a better overtime.
What?
You know.
Wait, what?
So from there,
What does that mean?
it jumped. When that hit World Star, it was lit. Yeah.
I'll explain
Okay.
when
No, that's
because
fair.
we don't got
Yeah,
Cortez
I
for a long
know. We can
time.
explain that
I'll
after.
explain a bunch of the things that we were talking about after the show, or after he can't be on anymore.
Yeah, no,
Let's
I
keep on
appreciate that.
going through the years that we can cover before you get off. So then after that, after those sets of battle came,
After Con, then I got the ice battle on Lions Den.
mhm.
Because previously, while in grind time, I battled on Ice's Gladiator League. So like I had did that, and I did one of the Lions Den battles too. Like so, I was already jumping around in the circuit, but then getting that opportunity at Kid Capri. I don't know if you guys ever see that picture. It's Kid Capri. It's all of us: Ice, me, Hollow, Solomon. Everybody's there, and we got negotiated for like an HBO sponsor, and they wanted to film these battles, and we ended up filming it in Harlem at Black Star, and from there it was crazy. Like you know what I mean? From there, that battle was like the one. It was like whoa, Cortez beat Head Ice, but Head Ice won to the judges, and it was Rakim, it was Big Daddy Kane, it was Styles P, it was KRS One, it was Raekwon, and
At that point, battle rap started getting bigger because of what we were doing with grind time. and it had brought that right attention, and Head Ice and Lux having that opportunity to have that type of like a lineup of judges was
Hmm.
super huge. I remember like all of us, that was like real big news, you know, like it was like, yo, like they paid attention. Like
Yeah.
it's getting real. It's getting real.
Rest in peace, PH, because that footage wasn't coming out, and PH recorded it on the screen
Mm.
that they were showing to the street people. And PH made sure he recorded the whole battle like that, so that nobody, in case they didn't try to put out the footage. And then PH was like, "I got the whole thing," and I was like, he was like, "Don't worry about it, nigga. The world is gonna see this." You know what I'm saying? That's my brother, like for
Brother.
real.
Rest
You
in
know what I
peace,
mean?
PH. Facts.
And I was just like, "What?" I was like, "Yo, all right, cool." And then they was holding on, and then we we let it fly. That went right to world star. Then I realized how to use the internet for my advantage. You know, boom, I put that out. Everyone loved it. You know, and from there, that's when URL started. And their very first event, Math versus Rex, Cortez versus X Factor.
Yeah, yeah.
That's big.
What you guys set off that
URL.
if that the controversy that happened didn't happen, URL wouldn't have had that first event back with that battle with Math and Rex and you. And it just was like it set off everything. And now there's Fox giving caffeine what is it, like 130 million or something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
so that they
for
can
the app, yeah.
do the deal with URL. Like this is, I try to explain to people like we created a lane for ourselves where they didn't want us to. The industry didn't want us. Nobody was giving us a shot to like get to those opportunities that we wanted to get to, and we created a lane for ourselves. And now there's a whole industry and people feeding their families off of what we did and the work that we put in.
Yeah. I guess that's the blessing. I'm able to do what I love for a living.
Lessons, facts.
Yeah, it's interesting to listen to. I mean, that went really fast, and I'm still processing a lot of what you said. Um, but I totally appreciate you sharing it. Honestly, I think
Thank you.
your life is very interesting. I mean, there's a lot that you've done that I'm sure we could probably fill hours and hours and hours of talking about shit. And honestly, people just love it because
Hmm.
they just want to hear everything. You'd be surprised at the level of what we would consider boring people want to actually hear about. Okay, just because they want to know what you think about things. And
Yeah.
so far, you failed to disappoint in anyway. It's just been delightful
Yeah,
talking to you.
like that's why I'm doing the series with Holden, like because it's like we could be. I could easily do something with somebody else who knows, and does it, but like Holden being an outsider is better because now you got to explain. We got to explain the things that we would just say "nah mean" to, and people would just
Yeah.
be expected to "nah mean," and people
Yeah.
don't "nah mean." You know what I'm saying? Like they don't. Like that's not something new. You've
Yeah,
been out of America, so you know. It's not like you're just a local, guy that never been out the country, never like
Exactly.
like you've been out the country. You know what it is. Like they outside of New York City, even in our own country, people don't understand this life that it is here, and the way that we have to go about things and things that we do to get to where we at. So it's like it's
Yeah.
good to really thoroughly explain a lot of this stuff to people. And like Holden's got like a platform where like he's got people who are not, they're not, battle rap fans
nah.
necessarily,
Yo,
and
straight
it's
up,
good to reach out outside of our community.
there's a lady from Norway who tunes in and watches this every time, almost like clockwork. So usually Golden Jenny from Norway is there, and if she's there, she pops up on the screen after, and you see it, and it's like a cosign. But for the most part, she was
Mhm.
there earlier, listening to your music, even, right, and complimenting it. So like the way I
That's
see
dope.
it is, in the internet era, there's a lot of value in learning stuff like, yo, what it's like to grow up in Bed-Stuy. Like we could probably talk about that for another hour, and it wouldn't be boring. And that's the thing. But a lot of people don't know that when they think about their stories. And I look at a lot of the interviews and what other people talk about, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, whatever. Let's get to the good shit. And usually we never get to, yeah, she's there. She popped up in the chat, I swear, from Norway, straight up. And it's like, just hearing that stuff, man, it's so cool. Like we hear this in our music that we all call this classics. We listen to all these words that mean literally nothing until we hear somebody like Cortez describe a radius of blocks. You know what? I've never heard anybody describe like a radius with relation. So now it's like, okay, there's that much distance between where like these guys is at and these guys is at and shit. So yo, believe it or not, all of this is gonna get people that are maybe not so much from New York City to be like, yo, that's so cool, because it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you go look at what's trending on YouTube, it's geeky knowledge stuff. That's like the most
Yeah.
popping kind of content right now. So you
Yeah, the
just
little did you knows.
you're
I was
Mhm.
10 years old when I found out this.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
all
dope.
the all the all the stories that we like. Look, you talk about like being there, fucking with Mace on the court. Like, there's not a lot of people that I mean, there is a lot of people because we were there, so we remember how packed the shit felt. But it's also like there were no cameras and billions of other people were on Earth and they were not there. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, sharing our stories, I think, is really important. And I've been on that tip, like, really heavy, like talking to Penn about like we need to like document the things that we did, because like nobody's
There's a
gonna do
lot
it
of
for us.
history there.
A lot of history, bro. A lot of history. And one day there's gonna be people really like, wanting that'll be the shit that Netflix will be paying millions of dollars for.
Yo, but
Like
it's
the
even like
story of like what we did.
to
You
go
know?
another direction with it. I do album reviews, and when I started my journey, I didn't know fuck all. And I used to get told, "Yo, you should go Google shit beforehand." And yo, I don't know if you've ever tried to Google some of this shit, like what bars mean or the nuances behind this or that. Yo, it's impossible. Unless there's some rap thread from like 2009 that's archived on that exact subject, it's like good luck finding anything. So hearing you talk about it, creating this kind of content, to me, it like serves such a value that's gonna help people like really understand more and in a sense bridge the gap. And even to
Yeah.
whether it's battle rap to music or just the origin of hip hop to the rest of the world, I think it helps explain the culture more, which helps everyone kind of respect it more. So it's mad useful, and you've definitely helped us with that.
Word.
You're welcome.
Bless. Facts.
So yeah,
We got to do this again. We got to come up here and finish this. And we got to do an album review too.
that's definitely possible. We can set that up.
Yeah.
For you, Cortez, we can set that up. I can make that happen kind of quick. Let's be relatively quick. I'm not actually as free in my life as I used to be. I shouldn't overcommit, but nah, we can do something like that.
I'll be watching you do that shit, and I'll be like, all right, man, go ahead.
You say you could do it. Go ahead.
I mean, no, I know how much time
It's a
it
lot.
takes. It's
Nah, I know how much
believe it or
Holden has
not,
on his plate. Like, he's
I
really
know,
out here. He's
but
serious
the
about
other
his
side is
platform.
you done did the album reviews for 4 years straight. I know exactly how much time it takes, and I know what I can fit into it. And your shit's 7 songs or whatever, so it's not that long,
10.
meaningful.
Yeah,
10.
it's quick.
It's shorter. We went through it on the album earlier. It's dope, etc. Don't worry, it's not a huge commitment. I did the Drake shit in like fucking 45 minutes. It's fine. I'm okay at this. You'll like the product regardless. But yeah, no, for you, Cortez, I feel like we can do that for you. It was a gift of you coming through and coming here. For me, it was a gift. So I appreciate
I
gifts like
appreciate
that.
y'all.
If I can give one back, that's my pleasure. I don't say that to everybody. You can promise you that.
Well, appreciate y'all, man.
Yeah, nah, appreciate you for stopping by and definitely, like, you know what I mean? Holla at me, and we set things up.
I got you, bro. Y'all be safe.
You already. Be safe, bro.
Take care.
All right.
All right. One.
All right. Before we all
But-
go away, we're still here.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna update your name so that it says your name on my side because it can do that. But I want to know about that overtime thing because you said
Yeah,
you'd
no, I was
explain
gonna
it.
explain a bunch of the things. Like, I was just gonna say, like, if you don't necessarily gotta go,
I don't have to
I don't
go.
gotta go, and we can just. I mean, Tez had limited time. We appreciate his time, but like we can just finish the episode on the subject of him and what he was talking about, and give a little bit more insight on what he went through real quick. So yeah, we could talk about that. We can talk about the overtime. We could talk about
Yeah.
that era, and and yeah, we're
But
still streaming.
we mostly meet. Yeah, we're still streaming. We are still. At least that was my intention. So we're okay. I know that you used that guide to raid Ishmael. We'll see if Blob Ross is live after, and then we'll go from there. Um, but yeah, on that note, feel free to explain that overtime thing he was talking about, because I didn't really fully comprehend the situation.
So what it is that, well, basically back then, grind time when grind time came along, like they brought like a formula that kind of was like around but like wasn't perfected in the way that they had did it. And so there was a certain point where like everybody was going overtime because judges, whenever they like saw a battle that they enjoyed, that was just kind of like a good way of being able to get more material, right? So there was like this point where like everybody just kind of was going into overtime rounds, and some people would try to commit to 3 rounds and just like I got this. These 3 rounds got this battle, you know. And I guess SoCon didn't prepare a good enough overtime round,
Mm.
and Cortez's overtime round was better. Um, Back then your overtime round kind of essentially was really the battle, because if you're guaranteeing that everybody's going to go into overtime, then really the overtime is going to be the decider, you know, like that's going to be like where the battle is really decided. So like it was really smart of him to keep a really good round for your overtime round
Yeah.
instead of your regular 3 round.
Have we expanded on that controversy on camera before? Because I don't know if we ever did. I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but that might have been some off-cam stuff. So if you want to break down what was going on with that judges versus whatever, just because it feels relevant, that would be also interesting.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like,
The controversy that I had mentioned about the battle rap event, or
yeah,
like
the one
the
with the
controversy?
judges where PH films it outside and all of that was kind of talked about. Real, like,
Yeah,
y'all
yeah.
understood
I
it.
mean,
But if you could add more context, that would be super helpful, I think.
yeah, no, absolutely. I wasn't there for it, right? So like, I'm not like recanting from like a first person standpoint, okay? But like, essentially, what he was talking about was back then there was so we had talked about with Jay Smooth about the controversy of the tapes at the WRCs, right? And so that kind of set off an energy that maybe people weren't aware that they could pull off, of kind of like, well, let's just, the tapes can go missing if like something happens. So like if I book you, you and me are gonna battle, Holden, right?
Right.
And I know that I'm gonna like wash you. I'm gonna demolish you. In my head, the team, everybody, we're setting up this event because you're top tier and I'm top tier. But I know I'm gonna wash you. Like I got something set up. But and then it does not go my way, and I end up losing. Right? Like if you're throwing the event, you could essentially like you could be a little dishonorable essentially, and be like, well, I lost the tape. Like, what does it hurt me if I lost on camera to lose the tape and not, have this embarrassment come out? So PH being there and filming off camera was like a smart thing that he was doing on some just in case somebody
Mm,
tries to pull a sneaky move. Like I have some evidence of what Cortez is speaking about, like doing really well.
okay. Yeah. So your lady friend Bonnie would love to see you take me down in a battle. That's
Take
what. You don't
I'm
want
not
to
even
do that.
trying to battle Bond,
No, she wants
I'm
you
not
to
trying to battle
battle
Bond.
me and win, and that's what she would like to see, which I appreciate. I understand. I'm not saying I want to do that. I'm saying that they probably want to see you do that.
The tape. I see it now. I'd love to see Flacco take nature off
Yeah,
that.
that's what
Yeah,
they
nah.
want to
I
see.
mean, for example, just like for posterity, what we're talking about here. um, yeah. So that was just something that would happen back then. Is that like there were a lot of illegitimate moves being like trying to be plotted on, and PH Pumpkinhead bless him, being the brother that he was, you know, like he's the one that gave a lot of us opportunities. And like as we go through some of these people that I plan on like us interviewing, you know, like you'll see his name come up a lot more and more. Build
Nah, it's dope.
mhm.
Yeah, I'm not sure what other recapping things from that we should discuss at this moment, as I'm having my brain went blank
Let's
moments.
see. There's so the battle. So there was the controversy also that I had mentioned of like when he was saying hit the setting off URL's first event. Like there was like a controversy that happened where that battle, Mac versus T Rex. Like this is all online
Right.
still to this day because back then was kind of like the beginning of the blogging era. You know, so like is like the beginning of like all of us in this league just doing blogs to each other and like calling each other out and like being like, yeah, you know, such and such sucks or I don't like such and such for whatever reason. And so all this
Yo,
like
that makes
stuff was kind
sense
of
why
like,
the media is the way it is. It was like deliberate.
what do you mean?
Well, like I noticed watching battle rap interviews in like the early 2010s and shit. It's also like, well, now that I look at it from a WWE perspective, it's also like contrived to create like moments
Yeah.
to almost like trigger up. But if it's all intentional, it's not necessarily what I first thought. It's almost like everybody was in on it. So let's go, let's run it, let's create that like theater of the situation. At
Yeah,
least,
I mean, it like it's a it's a theater, but not as like well organized as you would think, right? So
right.
it's not like the league owners are like telling like the battle rappers, "This is your next opponent. Let's create this." Like a lot of times, it'll just be like, "I don't like this battle rapper for whatever such and such," or sometimes a battle rapper will mention you in a battle in a way that's just not favorable in any way, you know? Or maybe you just don't like the way that he mentioned you in the battle. And like you'll call that person out, you know, like or just start talking shit about that person. Or then your next battle, you mention them and not like in a more unfavorable light. And it creates a thing, or maybe there's a behind the scenes thing. That happens a lot of times too. There was back then was kind of like the beginning of like social media, really, right? So like when these leagues are popping, when grind time is popping off, it's the beginning of, like he said, world star. So like whatever year that is, which was a long time ago, you know, like that's like crazy that we were like, you know, that's probably like around the same time as the beginning of Twitter, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Um,
Like
so it's just like
2008, 9, 10, somewhere in that era.
yeah, 2008, I think it
Yeah.
is, you know? And so it's just like we're kind of like the guys that are just taking advantage of all this media, right? But like at the same time, like we're navigating it. So like those things that like you talk about nowadays, right? Where like we all kind of know that it's easy to get misinterpreted by text, right? And sometimes like contentious situations can be created by text, or at least in New York, maybe. I guess I'm thinking that it's a worldwide thing, but
No,
I think
that's a
it's a worldwide.
worldwide thing. You're
Yeah,
flat
it's a
out. It's
worldwide
a
thing.
worldwide
People,
thing.
yeah. Back then was the beginning of social medias, bro. Like, so essentially, like a lot of these battle rappers, like the way that the beef was getting formulated was really on some silly shit, like some just miscommunication online. Like, you know, like you just left an opinion on somebody's status, and back then, like yeah, you had the beginning of Facebook, so like people didn't like certain things that have become like societal norms where you're just like, yeah, like there's a public forum, like anybody can stop by and comment, you know? Like some people would take it personal, like, what the fuck are you doing commenting on my post? Like, it's a post. I don't know, came by to drop my opinion, I guess, my 2 cents, you know? Shit like that. Like it was all that like beginning of social media, not people really not having like a
Yo,
bar that
that's
they
an
go by.
interesting point. So basically, you have a bunch of people that are about to go diss each other literally on Facebook in the beginning of Facebook. dissing each other on common threads before anyone really knew what anything was.
I mean, I don't know if I call it like that, but like I'm saying, like people would
Well, maybe not
friend
dissing. I
each
just kind of.
other. They'd friend each other, and then maybe there'd be a miscommunication that would lead to you not liking the person. Now you make a blog about the guy, and then next thing you know, there's like a league guy, either the division guy from like your local chapter. So like back then we only had 4 divisions at the beginning of grind time. So it was like, well, not at the very beginning, but like once it was established, it was like grind time south, which was really Florida, and grind time Midwest, which was really I think it was like Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. um and then you had grind time West Coast, which was really California, and it's just really the Bay Area and LA that were throwing events. And then you had Grind Time New York, which was really just New York City. It's not like, upstate. Like eventually later on, we had an upstate New York division as well, because it's super far from New York City, and they just weren't coming down here, and they had enough talent to, culture. I guess I'll leave that to Direct to speak on more so. But the point is, everybody, so like if you were in the middle of Vegas and you were really known like that, you would probably go battle in LA, like you'd go. But so the point is, you'd make this like video online blog talking about a guy, and like probably the guy that locally ran that division would be like, yo, like, so then let's set this up. If you don't like such and such, like, let's bring him in. Or while maybe the guy is in New York, and PH would end up calling somebody from California to fly somebody in, and the battle happens. But there is a lot of like you said, like wrestling type of drama, like.
No, I mean, like, that's how I look at it, but, like, it's fascinating how organic it happened, right? Like you said, it wasn't like anybody engineered it, but it's almost like if
Mm-hmm.
you put all the elements into the right fishbowl, this is the natural order of what appeals to. Because the other side of it is everyone's staring at analytics pages, okay? Like, everybody has their Google Analytics and their fucking websites, and so they're all noticing what people are clicking on, and that's gonna also be a big part of it. So as they start to see, yo, when this happens, there's a lot more hype. We get that many more people invested. The battle after the fact has all these things going on, etc., etc. Like, that's got to have been a big contributing factor to how certain things kind of pushed it, even if people weren't always aware of it at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, but that's like how good things get built, right? Like you don't even see it. Like you're just in the middle of doing the thing that you do, and like you turn around, and it's just like when Cortez was talking about like the hollow hand battle. Like he didn't know when he was writing for that battle the impact like it would still have 10 years later, or like most times, I don't want to say he didn't, but like most times, you're not thinking, oh yeah, 10 years down the line, this battle, because you also can't predict it. Like that's the beautiful thing about um battle rap, is that it kind of
I had
like
no idea that battle was 10 years ago when I watched it, because it wasn't uploaded 10 years ago.
yeah, I mean,
So I thought it was uploaded like 5 years ago. So it was that. It doesn't mean it didn't happen, that I'm saying, because the upload dates apparently don't always match when they happen, because I didn't look that deep with it. So I'm like, that's pretty incredible, honestly.
I think also what ends up happening, I don't know 100%, right? Somebody can Google this and check it. Um, but like, I think that sometimes, because like I've noticed when I have old videos on my old Dutch Vega YouTube page that I made private after putting them out initially, when I unprivate them and make them public again, that new date becomes its publishing date.
Okay. That sounds
So it
plausible.
might be that the battle, like it was from 10 years ago, it got posted 10 years ago. At some point, they privated the battle. And then when they unprivated it 5 years ago, it then got that timestamp as like the date. So that might be the case.
No, but I think it makes it a cooler battle situation, right? Because, like I said, like, I wasn't kidding when I said it felt like so much of what he said in his battles across the board were so, like, they hold up today. Is, I don't want to like use the word bad, but like tasteful is a good way to put
Mm-hmm.
it. Like, they still hold merit, It isn't like,
Yeah.
nah, that's a product of the times. It's weird. You know, you don't have to make no mental gymnastics to justify it, which I find sometimes you got to do because of the times, which is fair enough. But yeah, I just been thinking a lot about the content, so I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Nah. I mean, no, there's a lot of cool things about like battle rap. That's why I like pridefully like am a part of it, you know. And like I say, like I keep on saying, like because there, you know, there's to a lot of people it doesn't matter, but like to me, like I understand the impact because like I'm like it's the same impact that hip hop had. Like we're giving like not we're giving, but like guys are earning the opportunity to be able to feed their families and pay their bills off of writing. Like that's amazing. That's like super love, you know, like that. Like we give super props to book writers, right, for the same thing. Like they get paid to write, you know, like these guys are just they're getting paid to write and then go perform against the guy, you know, and like beat him. Like, and what I was gonna say was like it's beautiful because like you have this any given Sunday thing that happens in battle rap where like there's no predicting who's gonna win. So like that's why like I don't think that necessarily any of us are thinking about the impact that a battle will have 10 years from when it happens because you're kind of really focused on what's in front of you, which is like the task that's in front of you, which is
Because he said he had to
winning this
shut
battle.
everything down to do a battle, which was an interesting thing we didn't expand on. But he said he has to shut everything down to do a battle, and
Mm-hmm.
that made him less interested in necessarily pursuing all battle opportunities. And I never considered that, but I suppose you're gonna have to do a lot of research. You're gonna have to watch all these past battles. You're gonna literally have to take a whole bunch of time to
Yeah,
really. How long does it take to really prepare for a battle if you're doing it at this tier, in your opinion?
I mean, there's it varies. All of it varies, right? Essentially, leagues can book a battle a year, half a year, like 3 months, 4 months out. Back then, when we first were doing grind time and establishing all this stuff, essentially it was looked at as like a month was more than enough time. But there would be absolutely battles that would happen on the fly, like 2 weeks, sometimes a week ahead of time, and like you're expecting guys to come up with 3 rounds worth of material and memorize it and perform it like to a T flawlessly. And there's some guys that like they literally like Charlie Clips has like he's known for like having a freestyle third round where like people say like he doesn't care essentially. And that's the way that it's looked at. Like freestyling is looked at as in battle rap nowadays as you don't care because guys are taking time out their schedule to make whole events happen. People are showing up for your performance, and if you just so happen to be having the one bad freestyle day, that's all you need to justify how bad it is of an idea to freestyle all the time, you know, like that's all you need. Like you could have 20 performances freestyling all of them where like yeah you're killing it, you're doing good, like everybody appreciates it, but like you have one bad one and it's just like well you see like you should have prepared. Like that other guy spent however much time he got given preparing for the battle, you know. And like it's and I know as somebody who threw events, like I looked at it as like that as well, where like I don't want you to freestyle, I don't care how good it is, because like I'm doing a lot here to make this happen. So like if you mess up, let it be because you practice, and something happened and a glitch happened in the matrix. But like don't let it be that you just, you know, oh whatever. Like, oh, I'll
Mm.
just freestyle through this because, you know, I'm just that good. And it's just like oh, I hope you're that good. Now you gotta be better than the guy who comes with his written, because everybody who's come with their written and taken the time to prepare for their opponent showed that they cared enough to contribute that time and put
Mm.
in that work. And you just, you know,
So
spent all that time not caring, treating
this
it
is
like
why
whatever.
So this is interesting because it kind of carries over into why people get so fucking mad when people read rap contest entries, because all the other people that didn't put all that extra time into memorizing and putting that extra level of effort in, and then you have people who just don't look like they care as much when they don't visibly put in that same level of effort, regardless to whatever happens in life, you know. Um, but Golden Jenny asked a really good question, which I actually don't know the answer to either. So I don't know anything about battle rap. How far can you go with insults in battle rap? Is everything allowed?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's kind of like real life, right? Where like it's like this is all like, yeah, like you could say anything you want to, essentially, because you have free will as a human being. So you could say whatever you want. I would just, tell you, if I cared about you, I would tell you to be careful what you say to who you say it. Like, there's going to be people that, you'll be able to say certain things to and get away with it. And there's going to be people on this earth that you say certain things to and they're probably not going to like react positively to it. So you could say whatever you want to say in a battle, but like, you there are a lot of there's a lot of footage online of battle rap fights. So it's like, oh, that never happens. There's never a point where like people start fighting over something that got said. Like, no, there's examples of it. There's plenty of examples of people fighting
But
over very
a,
little.
is there like cultural norms that surround, like there's a given that's too far moment or that's a low blow or anything like that?
I mean, yeah, there's all sorts of things, but then there's like all sorts of battle rappers that like literally that's their like shtick and that's their thing. Like Arsenal is known as being disrespectful. Like, he's like, what? I disrespect everything, the most sacred thing. Like, what? Your mother is sacred, your daughter is sacred, your child. Like, I'll say whatever. I don't care. So
Mm.
like, yeah, there's kind of like that those unspoken rules amongst the people that choose to engage in it in that way, where they're just like, I'm not gonna, they look at it kind of uh, hitman movies. No, not even, because like hitmen get paid, and they don't really care if it's a woman, child, or who it is. They're gonna kill them. But like, gangsters in the street essentially have always had like a rule of like, no getting your mother involved, no doing harm to your children, and as long as your woman is not all up in the streets in your same business, then she's off limits as well for the most part. But that one gets kind of shaky. Like, that's kind of like gray area. Things sometimes don't operate like that. Again, it depends on who, like, if you make an enemy out of the wrong person on this earth, there's no predicting how far they might be willing to go to bring harm to you.
Hmm. I think
I think that was a good answer.
that was definitely basically to to boil that down into a sentence is play risky games, be ready to get burned.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, no,
yeah.
it's a good answer because like it's not clear, right? Like if you were to say to me like, I watched Bodied. That is my whole fucking reference point for what's appropriate or not. Because basically that whole movie can be boiled down into what's appropriate or not in battle rap. With the climax of the movie being man's burned his friendship for the sake of the battle. And yeah, they'll battle again, but you burn that personal relationship. And then you
Mm-hmm.
got accepted into the the clique, let's say, by that move, and it makes you question the ethos of a lot of things and a lot of
Yeah.
decisions that get made. But it doesn't necessarily say right or wrong, because I might interpret that situation in a way where I'm like empathizing one way, but somebody else might watch the same scene and be like, "Nah, that man played it smart."
Yeah.
And
And
I,
there's no predicting for everybody's storyline, right? Like, there's no, like, that's why a lot of things happen too. Like, there's a fight that happened in a battle between Math Hoffa and Sirius Jones. And like, Math Hoffa, ideally in the public's eye, didn't have a good reason for starting the fight and throwing the first punch, right? But like, the way he explains it is like, yo, he had a bad day. Like, like, there were all sorts of things that like led to him being on stage and like you just did the wrong thing the wrong way that just rubbed him the wrong way, and it was just like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna punch you in the face. I mean, like that's just it, you know, like that's the way it is. Like like there's no predicting for it. Like you could like essentially Serious Jones didn't say something in the battle like rhyme wise enough to anger him. It was background things that he did that were enough to anger him, you know? And that those things. So it's just one of those things where it's just like it's up to you, you know? Like, but then there's also a lot of examples. There's way more examples of people saying ridiculously disrespectful things and nothing happens. And like guys shake hands after the battle. Like, and lines got crossed. Sometimes lines get crossed and the guys don't fight, but they also just don't shake hands afterwards. Where it's just like, whoa, you just said that shit. Like, fuck you. Like, no, there will be no handshake. Like, you know, so it just depends. Like, it's just random. There's no telling, really.
Man, it's like,
I mean, there's telling, but you know, there's no telling because you could still offend somebody with something else that you do, not actually the things you say.
yeah. Apparently, Golden Jenny's remembering a battle with a Norwegian rapper, Nils.
Nils and Skills. I love Nils and Skills.
Versus Ron. And Ron used a tragedy with a racist killing with a lot of people in Norway a couple months later as like an attack on him in the battle.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of examples of like things that is just like, whoa. Did they just fucking say that? Like, that's kind of like the thing about battle rap. Like, it is that, like, kind of taboo type of thing, you know? Where it's just like, people look at it like, whoa, did you just say that? Did you just, you know? And that's the thing, is that it's a question, you know? Like, it's up to each person to determine where they see the line at. You know, like I said, some people, you know, might look at like, oh, talking about your lady is too far. And then other guys are like, you know, they're on that Tupac shit, like, fuck your bitch. Fuck, like, you know, get money. Like, it is what it is, you know? So it's like, it's just like, it depends on where, you know, each person draws their own personal lines. There might be a thing that you think is ethically, morally incorrect that I'm just like, bro, I guess.
Yeah, like I live in a world where nobody punches anyone in the face. You know, all of this shit, it's so calculated.
Super calculated. Probably one of the
like
most
all of that shit. Like, it's so fascinating because y'all like basically were like straight up, nah, it's like WWE shit. So I started looking at Daylight, and I went down a Daylight wormhole because he's such a fascinating guy. And from a performance angle, he does stuff.
Fascinating, incredibly talented.
I feel like the bars is the obvious thing about him that stands out, but it's more than that. It's his outfits. It's the way that he presents himself. It's the way he commands the crowd. It's like he takes it to such a level where I was like, oh, that's why people fucking like Daylight. And I didn't know what to like look for before that. And then it was clear because, sometimes it's like some stuff's very common and you see what I watched Daylight versus Mad Child. All right. And that was like you can see the day and night of like the talent sphere right there. If it counts, I don't really think Mad Child's not our people's. You guys didn't have him.
No, we don't want him. We weren't the one that made him. I mean,
he chose to go. He chose it.
Wasn't nobody no crazy invitation. Wasn't like Times Square had a welcome Mad Child, billboard or some shit like that. Like, wasn't nobody over here like, yo, come over here. Nah, fam, super nah.
Fair enough.
There might have been some guys like in that necro.
Yeah, I mean those guys.
Mad Child. Fucking Burns. Maybe Burns. I think Burns might have invited him.
Bugging. Crazy.
That was the best moment. That was a moment. Oh yeah, we are.
Yeah,
live.
we are still live.
We are still live.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, we are still live.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. That was still a fucking great moment for my life. My bad if that was
Tell
not.
him I said it.
Yeah.
Tell him I said it.
You be alright. Be alright.
Nah,
But so yeah, like I mean the man child is super not like but Daylight is
he's
he's
magical.
yeah, absolutely super talented guy. Daylight though, right? He represents one of many types of characters that you can embody type of thing in battle rap. You
He's
know,
like
like
Gold Dust.
there are people that go that far. Like he's not the only one. Loaded Lux is super about showmanship. You know, like Loaded Lux when he first came back to battle rap after not battling for like close to a decade. When he first came back and he went to URL, and this was a battle that like Jay-Z tweeted about. That was another one of these moments that like when I was talking about with Cortez when he had that battle with Head Ice and you had Styles P and KRS and all these judges. We looked at it in battle rap of like a very like holy shit, you know, like collectively because it's a community and it's become a community. And so like we looked at it like, yo, fuck, like we got these guys paying attention enough that they're willing to show up and judge our battles now, you know.
Yeah, that's
and
dope,
then when you have Loaded Lux battling Calico coming back for the first time in 10 years and Jay-Z tweets him tweets basically about him by quoting him, you know, like it's just like what? Like this is another level once again. Like Jay-Z is now watching what we're doing. And then live at the event, Puff Daddy and Q-Tip and Busta Rhymes are in the balcony seats and they're like betting like $50,000 on the winner, you know, and they're like, I think it was 50,000. I forget how much it might have been. It might have been like 10,000, 50,000. I don't know what the exact number is, but they had thousands of dollars ready for whoever won the battle, you know, like, so like, it's just, it creates like this environment, this very exciting sports like environment that
sports like is fair. That's a good distinction. I accept.
Very sports like environment that no other like faction of like or part of the culture really cultivates like that. It's like, you know, this sport. And so Loaded Lux shows up to that battle first time in 10 years dressed in a suit looking like like somebody going to a funeral. And then behind him is a procession of people carrying a casket like literally a casket to the battle stage.
That's
you know?
amazing.
Like there's no lack of like guys like that, but then there's also guys on the other end of the spectrum like Swave Seva who like they don't play none of those games and they look at it very much so like that's games. Like they're showing up and it's like, yo, it's about this writing and I'm about to destroy you with what I've wrote. No games, no nothing. This isn't a game. This isn't about dressing up and playing dress up and putting on a show because you think there's wrestling. Like this is very real and I'm about to talk to you about yourself and tell you about, you know, you. And so there's guys that like you mentioned Nosem Skills and Roan and like there's guys like Roan where like to them they take a very comedic angle with everything. And like what they're trying to draw out of the crowd is laughter more so than oohs and ahs, you know? So like there's a range, there's a wide range. And then inside of that, you know, if you're paying attention to like things like rapping itself, right? Like you have multiple styles, like literally kind of endless. Like you have more options of rhyming style with acapella battle rapping than you do necessarily in music because you're constrained to like musical rules. And in battle rap, like there are none of these like constraints of the music, so you can kind of do more a theatric type of presentation with your writing and your flow. And so there's all that. Then there's like, you know, some guys are like multis type of rapper. And if you're familiar with rapping, you understand what multis are. You know that it's guys that, you know, do like Haribo, when I stepped into you and made you plump like Mario, or some other, thing where they constantly going in these. It's essentially what Eminem does. Eminem does the same. To him, it's not really about having I want to be careful where I'm going with this. I don't want to trash Eminem. I don't want to make this personal. To me, I want to keep it. I want to keep it. I want to keep it.
A moment Flacco remembered he was live on the internet.
No, I mean it's not even that. It's the internet, right? Like I don't want people like taking getting upset at what I'm saying because they're a fan of Eminem and not like getting the knowledge of like actually what I'm trying to say, which is like Eminem tends to rhyme in the same rhyming pattern sounds over and over for like like his entire catalog, and that's the way that he approaches music making. And that's the way that he raps. That's his rapping style, and that's the rapping style of a lot of battle rappers. Guys like Disaster. There's a whole litany of guys that's their writing style. Some guys are punchline based rappers, where like everything is kind of like a setup. It's not about like the multis and all these like inner rhyming patterns inside of the bar, but it's about the rhymes at the end of the bar, making sure that those punchlines just hit on another level. So like there's all sorts of ways that when you like put together all these like things that battle rappers can fit into, like you can essentially keep on creating like limitless amounts of like styles and like characters, essentially. People that you can have a guy that loves to play into the character and he does punchlines and his flow is very like rhythmic and to like almost a beat that's not even there, right? And then you might have a guy who's like into the drama of it, same as him, but then he's like multi-based and very like staccato, off kilter rhyming patterns and enunciation style. So like there's like a limitless potential with the amount of like different characters that you can like find like likening for in battle rap.
Yeah, I think it's way more interesting than people give it credit for. I definitely think that the more you delve into it, the more you can unlock like layers of appreciation. But yeah, I hope that like
your layer was in the showmanship of it. You were like, now this I am into, sir. A guy with true lyrical talent, but also who's like totally
but to be fair, I had to understand what to look for. So Bodied taught me a lot about bars and intent. I didn't know that like maybe it's probably not a good idea to dismember like every single like person. That but like so it's like okay, sometimes like if you rap about guns per se, you're not actually talking about somebody's life. And I'm like, oh, maybe there's choices here that I wasn't considering when I thought about a lot of the things that go into this. Also, so Bodied helped a lot with some of that kind of context, right? But also how to play to crowds. It was something I never realized. So sometimes it's not that you don't want to be smarter with it, but if you know nobody in the room, and they used the character embodied that consistently he followed every rule of good songwriting, but you didn't read the room. So everything didn't land. But personally, I was like, that shit's pretty fucking good. And I'm like, oh, I get the point. You're showing me, look, read the room, motherfucker. So on many levels is that movie layered and like really interesting to communicate a lot of different things to people that are willing to go look for it, who want a bit of a matrix into it. But even then, it's not enough. You start watching battles, okay, you're catching stuff, but then you don't realize that a lot of it is, I don't know, maybe nobody likes it, but if you're trying to translate something to people that don't understand, you do need simple ways to explain it. But a lot of it's like WWE. That shit's not fighting. It's just not fighting. It's just not, like sometimes they actually hit each other, but sometimes they don't. Okay, like it's like like sometimes like
like I said, it has a very Any Given Sunday like vibe. Like that's the thing about battle rap. Like there's really no predicting who's gonna win. Like a guy, and I liken it to
I like how Julio put it. It's scripted, not fake. And I feel like while battle rap doesn't have a scripted outcome, maybe there's still the same level overtones of like, yo, this is an
I
understood
mean,
thing everyone's engaged in. That's
yeah,
more what I
yeah.
mean. Like, yo, people in wrestling when they do their promos or boxing ahead of time or all of these different things, when you're watching these men do their hype up promos, I'm certain, like, in general, like, everybody knows what they're doing. Even the violations are understood. You know, like, oh, he crossed the
Yeah.
line. Of course they knew he was going to cross the
There's
line. They're banging on
contracts.
that
There's
shit.
contracts in this, and like I probably shouldn't be saying it, like, but like the truth is, I always mocked the contracts because I'm like, everybody's too poor to afford to sue each other. What the fuck are you suing for? Like, what? What? Like, you can have a contract and he breaks the contract, and it's like, okay, what now? You're gonna sue him for what? Like, a lot of these guys, not everybody is not everybody is the popular guy who's feeding his family off of it. A majority of these guys are doing this in their spare time because they love it. So like, and maybe they might, or some guys are doing it because they're looking at it like their opportunity to get to a place to make money off of it, but they're not really making money right now, and they don't have a job. So it's just like, what, you're gonna sue him for what? Like, he like doesn't have anything to give you. So like, you could sue him, but like, what's the point of that? You're just gonna waste more money.
Yeah,
Suing
I've
somebody
thought
who
about
doesn't.
that too. That's why I'm not necessarily worried about it. Usually, if you're in a position to get sued, you're also in a position to deal with a lawsuit. Usually, in that world, usually you have money because people are gonna Google your net worth before they're gonna bother with a lawsuit. I've not been that way. I mean, then again, I'm certain that you should worry to a degree and not act completely carelessly with your actions. I'm not trying to advocate for that, but I'm also not in
Yeah.
the States, so I mean, I say all this where I understand it's very hard to sue me outside a small claims court in Canada. You can sue me in small claims court, and I'm like, okay, I suppose that's fine. If it ever came to that, we can deal with $1,500 or whatever the fuck it is. But you can't like sue me. You'd have to sue whatever entity that is a company that is doing well enough to sue. I mean, I don't know. I've never heard of anybody like personally suing a person in my life. It's never actually
Yeah.
happened to my knowledge. So I know it's like a thing in the States, which I don't often think about. But I don't, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I don't know how expensive it is. I don't know how viable it is. It's like a completely foreign idea to me,
Yeah.
literally.
I mean, the contracts are essentially just in place to like hopefully, bind people to the word of what everything got agreed upon, and hopefully they don't violate that. But I mean, even when they do, like most times the reason that you don't get sued is because like you're probably like if you're in a position to get a contract signed with one of the major leagues, URL or KOTD, then like chances are you're doing this seriously. Chances are if you're doing this seriously, you're battling on either one of those platforms. If you're battling on either one of those platforms, you're probably going to battle on one of those platforms again. And if you're going to battle again, like it'd probably be better off for you to just, like give that person a break, give them maybe opportunity to work it off. You can work it off. You can show up to this event and battle for free, which you could do, to make up for, doing this fucked up whatever might have happened that broke the contract.
That's fair. Whew, sometimes you run out of steam. I don't know what else to say in this moment. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like my energy levels is totally not where it was all the hours ago. But I think this was mad interesting. I think it's a good episode. I don't know if anyone else has comments now or questions, but it would be a great time to like throw in your last questions you want to ask before we all part ways on this very Saturday. But definitely thank you again for making a lot of this happen. Like a lot of this is happening specifically because of you, and all of the work you're doing. And I don't know how much people really know that, but just to put it on wax, without you, this isn't a thing. Even like with everything I'm doing in my life correlates back to your hand intervening in some way or another. So it's much appreciated with that. Have you heard of
No problem.
loaf music?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Ismail, what is loaf music? You can tell us about that. And yeah.
Collective from New York. I'll look into them.
Fair enough. There's definitely a lot of people out there. But yeah, on that note, thank y'all for watching, for real. Appreciate y'all. I don't know. Again, we've been through all that. I'm being repetitive, but yeah, I don't know what else to say at this point. Thanks, everyone. I'm gonna start the raid on my side, so y'all live long and prosper and everything. Yeah, who is Mers? Well, we'll find out if I'm allowed to raid Mers. I am allowed to raid Mers. Oh shit, I'm gonna go raid Mers. Who the fuck knows?
Lily, bro.